Hi there guys, how are you today, and welcome to my review of the 2017 Singapore Grand Prix. Before I get into the review, I just want to mention that I took part in another review video. This is going to be on KTM Milner's channel and also the SportTube channel, and it's going to be on the channels I believe, and I will leave a link in the description to the channels and the video once it's uploaded. I'll admit, as I'm recording this video, that video hasn't been uploaded yet. When it's uploaded, I shall leave a link in the description. But now let's get on with my review. So yes, the Singapore Grand Prix was the first ever wet night race, and well, what a crazy race that was. So I think I'll start by giving you the results, and then I'll explain what happened to each driver and what I thought of each driver. So, Lewis Hamilton won this year's Singapore Grand Prix. But despite starting 5th on the grid, he was followed home by Daniel Ricciardo in the Red Bull, and Valtteri Bottas in the second Mercedes came 3rd. Carlos Sainz did brilliantly to come 4th, Perez was 5th, Jolyon Palmer finally scored points, finishing P6, Stoffel Vandoorne was in P7 in the McLaren Honda, Stroll was 8th, Romain Grosjean 9th, Esteban Ocon 10th, Felipe Massa 11th, and Pascal Beuerlein was the last of the classified finishers in P12. As for the guys who retired, there's Kevin Magnussen, Nico Hulkenberg, Marcus Ericsson, Daniel Kubiak, Fernando Alonso, Sebastian Vettel, Max Verstappen, and Kimi Raikkonen. So yes, all those world champions retiring, 3 world champions not being able to finish the race. So yeah, I think you get how crazy this race was, but now let's talk about each driver. So yes, Lewis Hamilton did win the Singapore Grand Prix this week. It was a great race for him. He started in P5. It was certainly an unexpected victory considering this isn't really a Mercedes track. He actually only qualified in P5, showing that, although he did beat his teammate throughout the whole weekend. So I don't know if Hamilton did anything wrong, to be honest. I mean, it was more the car this week. I think most people do accept that. But the rain in the Grand Prix helped level the playing field, and he was able to win the race. Of course, the crash at the start of the race, which I shall talk about later, helped him a lot. But yeah, he said after qualifying that he needed a miracle to do well this weekend and beat Vettel. And he got his miracle, and now he's 28 points clear in the Drivers' Championship. And by the way, in the description I'll also leave the results of this race and the updated Drivers' and Constructors' Championships. In P2, there's Daniel Ricciardo in the Red Bull. I would say he may have been slightly disappointed with P2 considering the pace that the Red Bull had over the whole weekend, particularly in the practice sessions. I thought the Red Bull looked very, very good, and they certainly looked faster than the Mercedes, and you would have thought at once the track dried halfway through the race, Ricciardo would have been able to get past Hamilton, but in fact that wasn't the case. For it has to emerge that during the race, Red Bull and Ricciardo were nursing some gearbox issues, which obviously hindered their chances in the race, and it was more important for them to finish the race in second than trying to get first and retiring from the Grand Prix. P3 was Valtteri Bottas in the Mercedes. He was generally off the pace of his teammate throughout this weekend, but he would have been happy to come 3rd, as it always helps the team and the constructors, double podium finish. And yeah, as I was saying in that other video, it's pretty amazing that a damage limitation weekend for the Mercedes team ends with a double podium. I think it really says something about the state of the sport in recent years. P4 was Carlos Sainz in the Toro Rosso. Of course, we know that for 2018 he's going to be going to Renault. So yeah, this is his final season in Toro Rosso. And yeah, this was his best ever F1 result, which is pretty special for him, considering all of the attention that was on him this weekend for the move to Renault next season. And yeah, I'm excited for his future. Now he's going to be at the works team. P5 was Sergio Perez. I would say it was a good weekend for Perez overall, especially considering this wasn't really a track that suited the Force India. But he did start on the wet tyres rather than the intermediate tyres, and the intermediate tyres were clearly the way to go. And I think maybe that was quite a big mistake for Sergio Perez there. But ultimately he did get a drive. He has now got a drive at the team for next season. This was confirmed this weekend. And yeah, he has scored points at every single Paul Grand Prix that he's driven in. So, no complaints there. And generally a good weekend for Perez, beating his teammate as well. Now, Jolyon Palmer, P6 in the Renault, will be delighted to have had a clean weekend and finally a points finish. He even managed to overtake Valtteri Bottas in the Mercedes during the race. Okay, we know Bottas to get him back through the pit stops and everything, but still, Palmer was more alert than Bottas on a street circuit, clearly. But yeah, it does though look like he won't be in the team next season. It looks like next season at Renault is going to be Nico, Hulkenberg and Sainz. And the sad thing about this, that apparently he found out about himself losing his seat in the Renault. He found this out on the Autosport website, on the internet. Apparently, that's what he claims. Maybe I should leave a link to that article if I can find it. I'll leave that in the description as well. And yeah, I think the only options I think he really has now for next season is Sauber, obviously at the back of the grid, or Williams. Whether Williams would take him on, I don't really know. But yeah, tell me in the comments if you think Palmer has a future in Formula 1, and if so, where will he be next season? P7 was Stoffel Vandoorne in the McLaren Honda. P7 is a good result for the McLaren, although we know this was a track that very much suited their car. He was able to keep up with his teammate Fernando Alonso. Of course, I'll get to what happened to Alonso, who retired. I'll get to that later in the video. And yeah, this was Vandoorne's best ever F1 finish, and he'd be quite pleased. He could have got P6, but I don't think he could have been any higher. He did have some good battles with Palmer, actually, some good racing there. But I don't think he could have got any higher, and he'll be pretty happy with P7 in this Grand Prix. P8 was Lance Stroll in the Williams. He'll be happy with P8, considering the Williams doesn't really suit the Singapore Grand Prix circuit. And I read somewhere today that since the Canadian Grand Prix, Lance Stroll has scored more points than Max Verstappen. Admittedly, I think that says more for how unlucky Max Verstappen has been in the last few races. But, you know, Lance Stroll, he's been doing well. And yeah, he doesn't have any seat guaranteed for next season, as far as I know. But I think he has earned another season at F1. Tell me what you think about that in the comments. P9, Romain Grosjean in the Haas. He would have been happy to score points in the Haas and was close to his teammate throughout the weekend. And of course, it was a great race for the Haas team after what was such a difficult qualifying session. Of course, we know it didn't go so well for Magnussen, that's what I'll be talking about soon. But it was a great race at Grosjean. You'll be happy to get another 2 points on the board. P10, final points finisher, was Esteban Ocon. So yeah, another double points finish for the Force India, although Ocon would have been hoping to have been slightly higher up the grid and in terms of results as well. And yeah, he would have been disappointed to have been slower than teammate Sergio Perez, but at least they managed to avoid crashing into each other yet again, thankfully. And yeah, Ocon has finished every race so far this season. I think that fact needs to be talked about more. Only Hamilton has also done this now. And yeah, Ocon's having a very strong season, to be honest. Yeah, I don't think, and this was probably one of his weaker Grand Prix, and he still scored a point. P11 was Felipe Massa in the Williams. I would say he was pretty disappointed by his work this weekend. A very poor weekend by his standards. Beaten by Stroll. And he says that he only wants to stay at the team next year if they want him there. But he wasn't really on the pace this weekend, so maybe he'll be out of the sport next season and they won't actually want him there next season. But I guess we'll have to see what happens. Final classified finisher was Pascal Beuerlein in the Sauber. So yeah, the last of the finishers of this Grand Prix. And yeah, all we can really say for him is that he may have been disappointed not to have scored points in what was such a crazy Grand Prix. You know, it could have been a bit better for Sauber, but you know, P12, I guess, is a good result for them. They know they're the slowest car on the grid, and they can't do much better than last place unless they get very lucky. Now, as for the people who retired, so we'll start with Kevin Magnussen, who retired on lap 50. Of course, I think we only managed 58 of the 61 laps because we hit the 2-hour time limit with all the safety cars and the rain as well. And you see, Magnussen retired on lap 50. He was running quite well, but he had a mechanical issue with the car. An MG, is it MG UK? I can't remember what it's called. What's that component called? Tell me in the comments. I can't remember right now. But he had an issue with his car. But he was actually making some great aggressive overtakes. I think he made a great overtake on Esteban Ocon at one point. And I believe Kevin Magnussen was running in the points. So yeah, pretty impressive for him. Moving on, we had Nico Hulkenberg in the Renault, who retired on lap 48, I believe. And yeah, he was running quite well, but he also had a mechanical issue, a bit like Kevin Magnussen, which led to him retiring. And I would say Hulkenberg was certainly in the running to get a podium this weekend, which would have been very good for him. But now he has the highest number of races, he has the record for the highest number of races without getting onto the podium. Now he's ahead of Adrian Sittel in that department. And yeah, that isn't a record that he wants to have, is it? But yeah, Hulkenberg versus Sainz in the Renault next season could be very interesting, especially if they improve their car. Now, Marcus Ericsson in the Sauber crashed out on lap 35. He actually managed to crash out on the narrowest bit of track on the circuit under the tunnel there. It's also a very awkward place for the stewards and marshals to recover the car, and obviously led to the third and final safety car of this Grand Prix. And yeah, he was ahead of his teammate in the Grand Prix, but you know, it hasn't been a great weekend for Ericsson, clearly. And the best thing about him crashing is that it led to an amusing team radio from Hamilton asking why there had to be a safety car, despite the fact that a car literally crashed in the narrowest bit on the circuit. That was pretty amusing, I would say. Then had Daniel Kubiak in the Toro Rosso, who crashed out on lap 10. It was basically a simple driver error, led to him being out of the race. Simple as that. Pretty poor by him. He braked too late and hit the wall. And yeah, poor weekend for him compared to his teammate. And with Honda powering the Toro Rosso, I believe, next season, it doesn't look good for him. And potentially, Honda might want to bring in some Japanese driver into the team. There's been a few names, you know, going around the paddock, and Kubiak could be out of the sport next season. So yeah, tell me who you think will be driving for Toro Rosso Honda next season. Now we're gonna sort of go on to the people who retired because of the crash at the start of the race. So because of this crash, Fernando Alonso retired, Vettel retired, Verstappen retired, and Kimi Raikkonen retired. So let's go into what happened. So Vettel was on pole for this Grand Prix, following a fantastic qualifying performance. Verstappen was alongside him in second, and Raikkonen was in P4. Fernando Alonso was in P8, I believe. Anyway, so the Vettel, Verstappen, and Raikkonen all made very good starts, particularly Raikkonen, and it led to them being three abreast on the straight. And essentially, Vettel tried to squeeze Verstappen into the wall, but I don't know if Vettel actually realised that Raikkonen was on the other side of Verstappen, and this led to contact between the two Ferraris and the Red Bull, and led to them being out of the race, and eventually it led to Alonso getting damaged, which led to him having to retire a few laps later on lap 8. So yeah, obviously it was a very exciting start to the race. Personally, I would say that Vettel was at fault. If anyone was at fault, they said it was racing incident. There's no more penalties, although I think the general consensus seems to be they've avoided giving a penalty to make sure it doesn't affect the title, because if Vettel got more penalty points, he'd have a ban for the Malaysian Grand Prix in a couple of weeks' time, which would probably ruin the rest of the season, because then Hamilton would win the championship quite easily. And yeah, Vettel's driving has been very aggressive, and he's now 28 points behind in the standings, so maybe his chances of the championship are over. So yeah, that is near enough the end of the video. It was a pretty crazy crash, to be honest. Pretty disgusting driving by Vettel, in my opinion, and more bad luck for Verstappen and Raikkonen. So yeah, that is the end of the video, guys. So make sure you check out our other video that there should be a link to in the description. And yeah, tell me who you think caused the crash at the start of the race. And I also want to know, do you think Vettel still has a shot at this World Championship if Hamilton doesn't have a DNF in the rest of the season? And yeah, that's it, guys. And I'll see you guys soon for my preview of the Malaysian Grand Prix. Thank you for watching my video. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you really enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos like this and other types of videos, please subscribe to my channel. If you have anything to say in the comments, please leave a comment in the comment section down below. Also, go and check out the video that should be on screen right now, and come and follow me on Twitter, BigGaming342, and Facebook, BigGaming342, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Goodbye.